So Naomi is pregnant, so straight away congratulations to her and Big Jimmy Uso. Wrestling is cool and all, but it's also the least important of the most important things, the other way around, the most important of the least important things. Real life is what we need to get at, although I do want to say hello and welcome to all the internet doctors that have sprung out on social media and are just giving us a load of tips and advice and telling us how terrible this all is. I'm so happy to have you here. Obviously not take them, bam, kick them into next week. And again, a couple of thumbs for Naomi and Big Jim. That's a pretty damn cool story. Also, hello my friends, welcome to Ups and Downs for Monday Night Raw, the only real wrestling show you need. Don't worry, you haven't gone crazy, you didn't get Men in Black flashy thingy to travel back to the past. I just thought, if Raw is going to do the same thing every single week, so will I. Gonna regret saying that. People will now yell at me on social media all day. Who the flub cares? Let's up those downs. Somebody call Bill Murray. But yes, Raw did kick off with the Division coming to the ring because they come to the ring at every start of Raw. That name is a bit silly. Somebody asked me about this the other day. The Division kind of sounds like some kind of shop you go to get new spectacles. But it's like all names in wrestling. It may sound stupid now. In a month's time, we won't be bothered about it. Paul Heyman got cheered as well because we were in Philadelphia when he even said, the city wanted to make a statue of me, but I said, no, I'm too humble for that. When he called himself a goat, then he called Seth Rollins a goat, and he called Bronson Reed a goat, and he called Bron Breakker a goat, essentially. And at one point I was like, maybe he's talking about literal goats. Maybe he does have an eye problem, which is why they are called Division, and when he sees these three, he sees goats. I mean, we're not Paul Heyman, we don't know. He also reminded us that Bronson loves stealing shoes, and he has done. I think he has 2 pairs of the Shoe Fala from Roman Reigns. Let's not forget, this basically makes him the new Repo Man, or makes him the current king of goofy wrestling for life. Now, they are going to have a match at Clash in Paris, which we'll get to later, and I think the stipulation should be the loser is never allowed to wear footwear again. Heyman also made sure to remind us that Seth Rollins has beaten Roman in the past. That's going to tie into the future. And just when Sethy Boy was going to talk, Jimmy Uso interrupted, and even though he was in the fans, he must have had like an ear tap to backstage going, you let me know when Seth opens his mouth, because that's what I'm going to interrupt. I mean, he put a lot of thought into it. He is bored of the Vision as well and said that Bron Breakker is nothing more than a puppy dog. I was like, is that an insult? Everybody loves puppies, and everybody thinks puppies are really cute. I think we probably could have come up with something better. Rollins then went into full manipulative mode though, because he was like, oh man, Bron Breakker, can you hear what he's saying about you, and can you see what he's saying about your family? He thinks you're a piece of trash, he thinks you're absolutely nothing, and he hates you, and he hates your mom, and he hates your dad, and he came and told me that you wanted to go with Vanessa to the big ball at the end of the month, but Vanessa did want to go to you, but it was this guy, it was Jimmy Uso, he told Vanessa, Bron Breakker would never go out with you, and that's why you have no date for prom. Bron Breakker couldn't handle that, and he went crazy, and then Seth Rollins calmed him down. It's like, Seth, if you wound him up, surely you wanted him to go full-on machine. It really was a bit like children bickering at one point. This is when Paul Heyman reminded us, oh my gosh, a few people down the road from here in a bingo hall used to settle their differences in a very specific match. When he mentioned Sabu, he mentioned RVD, he mentioned the Dudleys. And when he mentioned Tommy Dreamer, he said, the late, great Tommy Dreamer, I know he's alive, but he should probably be dead. Now, maybe let's never do that one again. I presume this happened because before this, he had referred to Sabu as the late, great Sabu, which was true. But this one kind of made me feel a little bit uncomfortable right now. I don't think we should be wishing death on people. Jey cut him off because, of course, he knew what he was going to say. And yes, sure, him versus Bron Breakker later shall be an Extreme Rules match. And I laughed out loud. I could just see the booking being in my head. It was like, well, listen, we really would like to do some run-ins in the main event because that's what we do in every single episode of Raw. But people are getting mad about DQs. And somebody looked at like the touring schedule, went, we're in Philadelphia, we could just do this. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I prefer it. I mean, you can't have a DQ in the main event if the main event doesn't have DQs, but even with this, I didn't think this was all that fun. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it just, to go back to the intro, feels like we're copy and pasting the same thing every week. The Division come out and they tell us how great they are, then the contender of the day, or the opponent of the day, interrupts, he says something, and then it sets up to the main event. And sometimes Adam Pearce will come out and go, you could have a match, but here, it was kind of like that, but we just use the stipulation as the big surprise. I just think the WWE could do something different. There was nothing wrong with this. But after about 5 minutes, I did kind of felt like I'd seen it before. Now, maybe I'm just being a negative Nancy, but I always will be honest with you, and please do let me know your thoughts below. But I'm giving it a down. For a group who are meant to be taking over WWE, Well, they kind of just like to talk. Asuka then said sorry to Iyo Sky for what she did do last week, and for a little while, they got on the same page when Asuka was like, you have a match next, why don't I come to ringside? And Iyo was like, no, I know I can do this by myself. Which is a stupid thing to say. It's a match on Raw, Iyo Sky. If you don't think somebody's gonna interfere, you ain't been watching. And of course she was taking on Raquel Rodriguez after she took on Roxanne Perez last week. And what did Roxanne Perez do almost instantly? Bam! Put one on the dick board. Because yes, go back to the word I just used, she was interfering, and I was on their side. I was with the judgment there. I was like, Iyo, I just talked about this. You should have seen it coming. Iyo did make this brilliant comeback though, and some of her taunts just make you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum, because she's so damn happy when Raquel caught her and gave her a Samoan drop. Now, she is definitely not from Samoa, so that is most definitely just called the drop. Rodriguez also got out of the way of the moonsault when she crushed Iyo Sky with a lariat. That kind of just pissed off Iyo, and she looked at Roxanne, who continued to be a goober, and she took her out with a dive 20-25, one on the counter. I think it must have shot Raquel because she kind of stopped dead because she couldn't believe what had happened to her friend, and she went for the Tijuana bomb, or whatever the hell we call that, and Hill was like, nope, and instead she hit the bullet train in the corner, she got the moonsault, and she pinned her for the 1, 2, 3. I was like, oh, Jeff, that's absolutely wonderful. Like, I get it. WWE can't help themselves. Somebody's always going to be on the outside going, hee. I'm going to use all my MP. But for the good guy to overcome this and get the win, no problem. For now, don't worry, it's going to change in 5 minutes. Of course, the Judgment Day attacked afterwards because they were so damn mad, and it was Rhea Ripley that made the save, which was very interesting, because later on, Iyo and Rhea were hanging out playing Nintendo when Asuka and Kairi walked in, and Asuka expressed, she was like, oh, I see, we can't help you, but Rhea can, and Rhea was like, well, where were you? You weren't doing nothing. And Iyo just lost her rag here, and she stormed off, and I laughed out loud because I'm a bad person, because Rhea Ripley and Asuka were just like irate with steam coming out of their ears. Kairi Sane was so damn sad. She doesn't want any of this. She just wants to be a pirate, man. But I actually quite like this, given that the women's title is about to be vacated. Obviously, Asuka is going to go heel. So yeah, we're onto something here. It's one of the best stories WWE has leaned into for a while. Give it up. And I was then going to talk where CM Punk interrupted him, and he didn't like the fact they'd fallen out last week. And I was like, listen, man, it's nothing personal. It's just business. Also, you keep sticking your oar in. CM really felt like staying on the same page was a good idea, though, because he knows what Seth Rollins' group is up to. And I was like, I want nothing to do with you, because again, 7 days ago, you weren't particularly good to me. So this was way better than their buddy-buddy that did happen a week ago. If you were about to go into a 4-way main event title shot for the World Championship, there should be a bunch of hate. There was. And thankfully, it's about to get worse. The New Day then told us that the 76ers were losers and that Penta owes them money for destroying Xavier Woods' hat. So those two and Grayson Waller continue to be excellent. When we did get to the Asuka, Rhea Ripley, Iyo Sky, Kairi Sane thing, and yeah, again, just to underline it, I think Asuka's about to turn heel. This is when Xavier Woods decided he was going to get his money back from Penta directly, and they did have a match. Have a guess what happened. That's right. Put a one on the dick board. I mean, at one point, Kofi Kingston just put Xavier's leg on the ropes. I do not understand why we have to do it in every single match. This was basically a copy and paste of the first bout because, yes, thank goodness. Eventually Penta did hit the Mexican Destroyer, and he pins Woods for the 1, 2, 3, and he also kicked out of the backwards, which is Xavier's version of the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. So that's a big deal. Penta also did a dive at one point to put a 1 on the counter. But yes, afterwards, the New Day were going to attack, but Penta ran away. Now, if he'd had a friend, a la Rhea Ripley, this honestly would have been exactly the same. So I'm just going to get ahead of myself here. I'm going to give it a down, because if you think this is the last time it happened on Raw, no, it was not. And I could be off by 1, but I don't think I am. I'm 99% sure every single match ended with, there's a pick attack afterwards when somebody either comes out to make the save or the babyface runs away. Like, I know WWE is creative because they've been doing creative things for years. It's just been the last month, man. Something kind of feels like it's gone off the rails. That's a down. However, the match was fun. We can never take away from that. I enjoyed the flippy-dippy-doo-dah nature and the fact that somebody wanted revenge over a hat. Up. Dominic Mysterio then yelled at AJ Styles for costing him his opportunity at the AAA show over the weekend. I also think he called him an old bat, and at the next AAA show, it is Vikingo versus Dom Dom for the Mega Championship. So listen, I don't want to be that guy, but if Dominic doesn't walk away with that title, that's fine, you can keep it on Vikingo, But if you were going to ask me what you shouldn't do, I would give it to the condom. I also think you could probably then take off the IC title and give that to AJ Styles. That would be a nice dynamic. When, I suppose, given that show, Dragon Lee and Mr. Iguana were teaming up. And I'm sorry, why hasn't this made national news? Why isn't more people talking about this? A dragon and an iguana just became a duo. Like, they don't even have the same diets, man. The world is evolving. They were facing the Judgment Day as well, and while the titles weren't on the line here, I am gonna give it a down. One, Finn Balor and JD McDonough really mad at the New Day because they always refuse to put their championships on the line. Well, now they're doing the same thing. And also, Mr. Iguana and Dragon Lee ain't no, defined tag team. We don't even have challenges. I don't get it, because over on SmackDown, we're drowning in tag teams. Like, I can't breathe. Whereas on Raw, you have to take on two animals, one of which isn't real. Down. The good guys did make sure to take out the bad guys with a dive, though. So bad, put a one on the dive counter. When Lee did hit this awesome Liger bomb when he got the hot tag to Mr. Iguana, you'd be surprised to hear, it's one of the reasons I'm wearing my shirt today, everything he does with that puppet or that toy, whatever you want to call it, it just makes me so damn happy. This is why wrestling is great and kind of does tie into our big conversation today. You can do whatever you want. So if you want to say, well, he's an extension of me, so I'm allowed to use him in the match, even though that makes no sense, you can, man, and it's absolutely beautiful. Fair play to JD McDonough as well, because he is still doing that Acai moonsault, even though it almost killed him a few months ago. You gotta respect it. And of course, Dominic then grabbed Dragon Lee by the leg. So put a one on the dick board. Again, I'm not gonna give it a down because we just gave it a down to cover all of these. Although once again, Dominic, what the flub are you doing? He's a dragon. What if he turns around and goes and breathes his fire breath on you? You're gonna die, or at the very worst, your HP is gonna get low. Of course, he allowed Finn Balor to hit the coup de grace on Dragon Lee for the 1, 2, 3, and that rhymes, so it must be true. When the Judgment Day attacked the good guys, when it turned out this time around we did have a friend, and it was for Kingo. So he ran out, and it was cool to see him on Raw, but he's terrible at this. He's not good at it at all. He got absolutely whooped, meaning the Judgment Day was standing tall. But once again, that's now 3 matches, and they all ended in exactly the same way. That's not a big deal. I'm not gonna get mad about it as soon as this video is done. But while we are discussing it, my gosh, it makes me confused. And listen, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm focusing on this way too much. And again, the match itself was good, so I am gonna give it an up. I'm this close to throwing another down in there, but no, again, I like to stay as positive as possible. The last down covers all of this, although actually later on, I am gonna kind of break that rule. The point is, just to talk about it again, you can do whatever you want. So let's come up with some more interesting endings. Becky Lynch then did cut a good promo on Natalya, because Becky's on fire right now. But this was another time where I was like, I think I've heard this before, and we have. It was the exact same thing that Drew McIntyre had said about Cody Rhodes on SmackDown, because everybody was like, oh man, I can't believe you attacked Natty Becky Lynch. She was like, I did not. It was her that actually came after me, and I was just defending myself when she went through everything beat by beat. And of course, she talked about Maxine Dupree as well, but let's forget that. They are going to have a match this evening, and she wants that Natalya that's been out on the independent scene. Spoiler, she didn't get it. But then it got to Bayley, who was still sat in her room after her very good promo last week. This was very strange. I'm kind of drawn down the middle with this, or torn down the middle, like Natalie Imbruglia, because as she continued to tell us about her woes, all of a sudden you could hear her inner thoughts, and she was kind of portrayed as being insane. But once again, we could hear her inner thoughts, so if we can hear them, and she can hear them, then she's not crazy at all. It's like the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior thing in 1998 WCW, when Hulk Hogan saw the Ultimate Warrior in a mirror, but Eric Bischoff couldn't see it, but we, the audience, could see it, which meant the only crazy person was Eric Bischoff. I kind of feel like we are moving into that territory. At the same time, the thoughts that Bayley was having had nothing to do with her role model character, and actually went back down to the hugger. So when this was done, I liked it. I suppose this also ties into our big conversation today, as I use it as my catchphrase. You can do whatever you want in wrestling, as long as you execute it in a good way. Well, it can work. Now, I didn't think this was as good as what we did last week, just because Bayley was so damn real. So there's a small piece of me right here. I was like, well, maybe we should lead in that direction. But if she is going to start talking about the hugger, where there is like a deep dive of information, well, I think that could be pretty good. So this one is a wait and see, but I'm just glad we're focusing on Bayley. Also, we didn't see Stephanie Vaquer. We didn't see Lyra Valkyria. I presume they fell into the Phantom Zone. It was Becky versus Natalya after this as well. Look, it was perfectly fine. At least we had a nice story here. Lynch worked over the arm, which is not a good idea, because her finisher is her arm bar. So Natalya the whole time was like, oh no, it's going to hurt if you do get me in that maneuver. And even when she went for the sharpshooter, she wasn't able to do it because she had a wibbly-jibbly arm. The absolute best bit is when Becky just booted Maxine Dupree and Tozawa for absolutely no reason. And while Natty did run wild for a little bit, eventually Becky was like, listen, you do have a screwed up limb. She applied the armbar, tap out win. Becky, of course, attacked the heels afterwards so that Nikki Bella could come out to make the save. And she hit the Rack Attack 2.0, so I presume we will do that match in Paris. But you see what I mean? We've just fallen into a very strange vortex where everybody got the same plan. Did nobody talk to each other in the back? Or was it like, listen guys, I'm really happy today that like last week was bring your kid to work day, but this week it's nobody talks to anybody day. And if we do see you talking, we're gonna get mad. I really should throw another down in there, but I said the one encompasses everything, so I won't do it. And look, the match was perfectly fine. I enjoy seeing Natalya on Raw. If anybody deserves it, it's her. And also, when Becky Lynch did attack the Alpha Academy, it made me laugh out loud. I was entertained. Sheamus and Rusev were then brawling backstage. Once again, this just cracked me up. Because this time, Adam Pearce did walk in with the useless wrestling security guards. And he was so done, he was like, you know what? You can have a good old-fashioned Donnybrook at Clash in Paris. I was like, no one has ever said that. You would say a street fight. You would say, what, there's no rules. You can do whatever you want. Why, in his fit of rage, did he go, it's going to be a good old-fashioned Donnybrook? If I was Sheamus, I would be offended. I'm like, excuse me, are you just saying that because I'm around? I mean, you wouldn't say it if it was anybody else. At the same time, that's exactly what we should do, and thank goodness we are doing it in Paris, because that crowd will go nuts. I did enjoy the little things that WWE did backstage this week, because CM Punk then went to Jey Uso and was like, oh, hi, I probably need to come to the ring with you because you're going to get destroyed. And Jey, as dumb as it was like, no, I don't need your help. And also, we are building to the big four-way in Paris, and therefore it's every man for himself. Now listen, they did fist bump at the end of this, but we just had some tension here. Obviously, him and LA Knight have completely fallen out. I like this. This was the right thing to do. I don't need people being friends just because they're both babyfaces. Well, we really did get to the best part of the evening because Naomi did come out to announce she was pregnant. And it was just lovely. And it was just wonderful because seeing somebody this happy, well, I'm just going to say it, damn it, that's what life is all about. Naomi as well has also talked about some of the issues she has had in the past with conceiving. This went super Jurassic Park here because life finds a way. But honestly, somebody find Naomi today and give her an award. Because Adam Pearce was like, oh man, I guess you're going to have to give that title. So pass it across. When Naomi stayed completely heel, she was like, Adam Pearce, I ain't giving you shit. She also threatened to basically rip his head off and Adam ran away. When she even turned to the people in the locker room, was like, man, you should be all happy I'm pregnant because I was going to dog walk you all. And now you do get 2025 off. But do not forget in 2026, even if I have to return mid-breastfeed, I'm going to win my championship back. I was like, honestly, when we are talking about recent gimmick changes, Naomi has to be right up there. She is smashing it out the park. She even said they should all go thank Jimmy Uso because he likes to Netflix and chill. When she said, don't forget, you're a bunch of heifers. I will return when she laid the belt down in the ring. This was like an all-time 2025 performance, which is a contradiction in terms, but this is how you take a real-life thingamajig and you merge it with a storyline. I genuinely thought this was absolutely brilliant, and also, once again, the news is great. And yes, I've seen some people saying that it's bad timing on her end, but she's allowed to make her own decisions. She talked about this on the Stephanie McMahon podcast. She did have the same thought, but I really do like to think that in the modern day, we're living in a world where she can go away, she can start her own family before, yes, she returns to absolutely whoop some butt. Like, who is going to have a problem with that? And if it's you, I can tell you this, you're the problem. I'm definitely giving it an up. This was brilliant. And more of this, even though it's hard to do it because this was based on real life. But I just thought the WWE and Naomi once again took a real life situation and just tied it into the story wonderfully. One of the best things we've seen in ages. The Judgment Day were then concerned because they couldn't find Dominic Mysterio. Within 8 milliseconds, they found him. And Finn Balor was worried because he was talking to El Grande Americano. The condom was like, listen, dude, I'm just making sure we are protected. And while Balor acted like he was okay, he was not. So we've gone back to teasing that there are problems in the Day of Judgment. But I actually think they've got back to a level now where I'm kind of happy for them to continue. Again, they're the ultimate yo-yo stable. And they were here at one point, but now they're back to there. They just make it work. But the only issue is that Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and Dominic Mysterio need some proper challenges for their respective titles, but we'll get to that later, I suppose. When we got to our main event, and yes, the system worked. WWE was not able to contain themselves, so everybody was gonna run in, but at least here, it was legal. Well, that did annoy me a little bit too, put one on the dick board, because I was like, well, people do it anyway throughout the show, so it's wonderful that you've added a stipulation here, but I also saw a bunch of non-stip matches, and people interfering then too. What the flub is going on? Jey Uso also came to the ring dressed like New Jack, with a trolley filled with weapons, so either one, he had planned this Extreme Rules match last week, or two, from the beginning of Raw to the start of Raw, he had gone to the store and he totally burgled it. It also meant that Bron Breakker took one of the worst bumps I've seen in ages, because Jey clotheslined him to the outside and Bron landed right in that trolley. And seriously, it's one of the worst landings you'll ever see in your life. It really didn't bother Bron though, because he took charge of the chair and made sure Jey Uso's tum-tum went right into it when he did that diving thing across Alan the announce table, but this time he did it with a trash can. And you know your RPGs, that means the damage goes up by 5. They were then cutting off spears so they could hit a spear, because all they were doing was thinking about spears. So somewhere Goldberg was really mad, and yes, even though Jey Uso had the match won, who appeared it was Bronson Reed, and he pulled the referee out the ring. Did I put a one on the dick board? I mean, put a one on the dick board, which means I think we have a triple header. I mean, maybe not the Becky Natty match, but essentially, every single match on this Raw had distraction, interference, and confusion. Eventually, LA Knight, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk ran in, mostly so they could come back to their music, which also made me giggle. And at one point, Knight and Punk were beating up Seth Rollins. But when Seth got out of the GTS, he pushed CM Punk, who, you're not going to believe this, accidentally knocked LA Knight through a table. His reaction was just, man, shrug emoji. But I did think this was great, because now when we get to Raw in 7 days, these two should just want to kill each other. Again, you heard my criticism beforehand, this way better. Bronze then decided they can do whatever they want, especially because CM Punk and Seth Rollins had cleared the area. And just as they were going to go for a spear-a-thon, who came out to stop them? It was Roman Reigns. And I think he had a point to prove, because the spear he hit onto Bron Breakker, he wanted everyone to know. He also punched Bronson Reed right in the face, probably because he stole his shoes. It meant that Jey was able to take a health pack as well, and he got back into it with a super kick when he put Bron Breakker on a table and he climbed to the top rope and he hit the Uso splash and he got the 1, 2, 3, which I actually think is a pretty damn big deal, because Bron Breakker was like the next big thing. And of course, him and Roman Reigns celebrated afterwards, when we also learned it is going to be Bronson versus Roman at Clash in Paris. My only sad part of this is that Bronson Reed can never win, but I suppose at least Roman can get his damn shoes back. His feet must be cold. Actually, to be fair, all Bronson said was, I'll see you in Paris, so maybe they're going on a date up the Eiffel Tower. But it is hard to dislike this kind of chaos, because it is fun, and it is making that world title at least feel like a big deal, because everybody wants it. I am now starting to think that if WWE does just want to go back to the Attitude Era, which was run-ins and disqualifications and no contests, maybe you just come out at the start of next week's Raw and say, this is the rule now. But again, we'll get to that when we get to that. I am going to give it an up, but I do have to say it the whole time, which is why sometimes the ups and downs counters don't make any sense. I thought this was a very middling, very average episode of Raw. Apart from the Naomi stuff, you've already seen everything else, and this was just a different way to kind of present it to the audience, which is not what WWE was doing a year ago. They were being so inventive. So I'm giving it a thumb middle. I'm going to say it quietly. It was kind of moving towards a thumb down before we got that Naomi segment. I just think we need an injection of creativity. But that's just what I think. And if you're enjoying the show, I think it's the best thing ever, because again, you do watch wrestling to be entertained. So tell me how wrong I am in the comments below, but know that my heart goes out to you. As if I'm in Titanic, then when you are down there, like the video, share the video and subscribe. Click the video for my SmackDown ups and downs, a show that no, I didn't like either. I don't know how we get here, but for all the people who go, oh, you're just so positive all the time. No, I'm honest. And when I don't like something, I'm not going to go, it's the worst thing ever, and everybody should die. That's negativity. Positivity is just having a chat, but also going, it's going to be okay. But yeah, WWE needs something at the moment. I suppose we'll wait and see. Goodbye.